Aren't you a little short for a stormtrooper?
What's up, nerds? Welcome to yet another episode of the Multiverse Report. But tonight we are recapping the new trailer for Blue Beetle. From El Paso, Texas to Palmyra City and everywhere in between. My name is Mike Gibson. With me as always, Steve Haller. What's up, Steve?
Well, I really want to travel to Palmyra City because that looks really cool.
It looks awesome. That looks like an awesome place.
Except it's not real, and they just made it up for this movie, apparently.
Yeah, it's classic DC. Give us a fictional location that looks like a real life location.
Well, the problem is they weren't normal DC with it. Like the Blue Beetle, like Jaime Reyes apparently is based out of El Paso in the comics.
That's why I said El Paso in the intro.
Oh, that would make sense.
Because that's the origin story from El Paso, and it's taking place in a place called Palmyra City.
Yeah, they just didn't feel like using that for whatever reason.
Or, I mean, I guess we don't know where it is. Like, I mean, this family, is a Latino family. Maybe they're not in America. You know what I mean?
True.
Like, maybe they live in Mexico or in Puerto Rico or something. You know, like, we don't know that. We don't know where Palmyra City is based.
Yeah, if they're going to move it from El Paso, then it's wide open.
It's wide open, exactly. So that remains to be seen. This is the first trailer for Blue Beetle, which comes out August 18th, I think it said at the end of the trailer.
I think so.
And we reported on our show yesterday. Yesterday when we recorded and released 3 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
This is I think 4 episodes in 1 week is the most we've ever done.
Might be. Yeah.
And it definitely will be if we end up doing another reaction for the Across the Spider-Verse trailer tomorrow. It'll definitely be the most episodes we've ever put out in 1 week.
Absolutely.
Thank you, loyal watchers and listeners, for. I mean, I'm sure you're watching, listening to all of them multiple times, and we appreciate that. But anyway, Blue Beetle. This is we talked about it recently, but this is the Jaime Reyes version of the character. He is the 3rd iteration of the character of Blue Beetle. Steve, I really enjoyed this trailer, but that kind of comes baked in for somebody like me who loves DC and loves their characters and excited about seeing a wider and broader DC universe expanding.
Yeah, I mean, this is the part of the DC universe that nobody's been burnt out on.
Exactly. We don't need a fresh take because we just need a take. We've never had a Blue Beetle movie, and we've never had, it's the first step into a larger world, to quote Obi-Wan Kenobi. But we're not here to talk about Star Wars. We're talking about Blue Beetle. And Steve, I want to know what you thought of this trailer, being more of a Marvel person, being someone who's not familiar with this character, who has never read this character, who has only heard me explain them. And, from what you've seen, maybe tangentially or, whatever. What were your thoughts, Steve, on the trailer for Blue Beetle?
I really enjoyed the trailer. I was trying to place what the feeling was that I was getting watching it, and it was like Spider-Man meets Ms. Marvel in the sense of the way they portrayed it in the TV show.
Yeah.
With the wacky family, and then the Spidey, big corporation, but there's this thing that gives you superpowers, and that suit apparently can do a lot of things.
Yes.
So yeah, it's there's a splash of Moon Knight with like various demons in your head talking to you, and yeah, there's a whole lot of something going on.
I would describe this version, the Jaime Reyes version of Blue Beetle, I think is a cross between Peter Parker, Iron Man, and Venom.
Okay. Yeah, it is symbiotic type.
It is a symbiotic relationship that he has with the Scarab.
Yeah, now that you say that,
and he's not fully in control of it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it can create extensions of his body and things that similar to the Venom symbiote Iron Man in that is technology based. It's like alien technology, but it is still like technology.
Mhm.
And there are other iterations of Blue Beetle that are even more technology based that don't have a special scarab suit, but do you like the Ted Cord version of Blue Beetle, which is a second Blue Beetle. He's like a tech. He's even more similar to Iron Man.
Okay.
Even that he just builds all this like tech for himself. And Peter Parker in that he's a younger guy. He has real life problems, and he doesn't really know how to be a superhero, and he's trying to figure it out. So it's like all those elements of those three characters combined, you get Blue Beetle, and
Yeah.
or you get the Jaime Reyes version of Blue Beetle, and
Which is funny because you're indoctrinating me over the year on Blue Beetle. Made me realize the Cord Industries Easter egg in the trailer on the building.
yes,
It was
yes.
like, oh, is that Ted Cord? I've never read that, but I know who he is thanks to Mike.
Yep, it is Ted Cord. And anyway, I'll get to that. I'll get to the Cord family name in a second here, but I just but those three characters, I think like Jaime Reyes has been around for a while. It's not like he's a brand new character. He's a newer character, I guess, in the last like 10 years, maybe, or I don't know. I can't remember when he was introduced, but it just seems like a no-brainer for anybody at Warner Brothers or DC to be like, yo, we have this character that's like a combination of three other incredibly popular characters. We should do something with this character.
you know, maybe.
People love Spider-Man, people love Venom, people love Iron Man. We have someone that's all three of those things in one. Let's do something. And they certainly did. I gotta say I agree with you about like the Ms. Marvel vibes. I felt that as well.
I think
like
it might have been the George Lopez playing his dad or his uncle or whoever he's playing.
Yeah. And he seems like very Uncle Ben like. He seems like he's gonna have a great part. He seems like he's well suited for this movie.
Yep. I forgot it was
like
him until like late in the trailer. There's a shot where you see like his face. I was like,
yes.
oh yeah, I forgot about
that's
that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's it's similar in vibes to that because it's a non-white family kind of like dynamic dealing with superpower. In this version, I like that this version is a version where his entire family knows immediately.
Right. Well, that's what made me think of Kamala Khan was like the same, like you never see that in superhero films where, you know, there's the secret isn't kept from everybody. Like we say Peter Parker, but all the time until later on, you know, May never knows. Or
and even in the Ms. Marvel show, it was like a while before the parents found out.
Right.
You know.
Right. And this just happens to be
first right off the bat.
Yeah, we're at the kitchen table. Yeah.
Yeah. And that transformation scene in the trailer I thought was awesome.
Yes.
That was super cool with the Beetle legs ripping through his shirt and then the tech kind of like crawling all over his face on the ceiling.
It was,
that was
you're
really
right, it was very Venom-y. Like
very Venom-y, yeah. And that's like it's not like and I say that being like this transformation scene in the film being Venom-y, I don't mean that as to say like, oh, they're ripping off Venom. Like that is still true to the comic book version of Blue Beetle. And I just thought it was really cool and his family just being there horrified.
Yes. Yeah, the Venom-y isn't a knock. It's like it's just an acknowledgement of, hey, that's it looks like something that people are familiar with.
Yeah, familiar element from another source material. I thought it looked really great. I thought the effects looked really good. That one shot of him being up in space, I thought looked really cool.
Yeah, there were a couple of parts here and there. I can't remember any like pinpointed, but you could tell it was still. I mean, they're still early in post.
Sure. Yeah.
They got plenty they can dust up, so it's not like it's if they don't brush it up and like clean it up, then maybe on the big screen it'll look a little funky. But it looked solid for a trailer.
Yeah. The accidentally cutting through a bus, I thought that was a really funny gag. Him like watching it happen in slow motion, and the POV from behind his visor, I thought is like a different kind of look than we've seen from like Iron Man or another character that is looking through like a visor.
Yep,
it's kind of like blurry and it's more like alien looking, I guess. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, compared to the clean like Jarvis AI and all
exactly.
that.
Yeah, or like something from like Predator or Terminator or something. Like, we just haven't seen a view kind of like that.
Or I am watching Star Trek. Actually, I just watched an episode of Star Trek Strange New Worlds that you would extremely appreciate. It was their take on an alien story.
Oh, cool.
Like
Oh,
all
yeah.
in the ship, chest bursters and all. So it was
Oh, wow.
an interesting take.
Oh, that's awesome.
It was actually
That's
really good. So
nice. Okay, so you mentioned Ted Kord. So the quote unquote villain in this movie, from what we've heard, is Susan Sarandon, who is playing Victoria Kord,
that's
I
who
believe
that
is her
was.
character's
Okay.
name. Yeah, and I had forgotten she was cast in it until I saw her in that one brief scene. I thought, oh yeah, that's right.
Right. I did that's who is that type moment.
Yeah. So, and I think we talked about this when it was announced that she was cast, but canonically, Ted Kord does not have like a wife or a sister, and I think she has been cast as Victoria Kord, the wife of Ted Kord specifically. I remember reading that when she was cast. So that's strange that one, they would give him a wife, and two, she would be the villain of this movie, unless her motivations are not what we think they are. They did show one shot of a guy getting out of a car with, like, he almost looked like Craven, kind of. He
Mhm.
had like a big puffy
Yeah. Yep.
fur thing. I've read that that might be a character called the Indestructible Man, who was like a villain of Blue Beetle, or
DC
like
is
one. I
usually
think,
very on point with their
yeah. Well,
names. Yeah.
I believe this character is from like early, like first incarnation of Blue Beetle that was like 50s, 60s,
Yeah.
Silver Age character. So back then they weren't really thinking too hard about what they were naming these
Right.
characters. So, you know, and any old superhero stuff is like that, like, the Absorbing Man or whatever. Like,
Mhm.
that's exactly what he does.
Oh, the internet has fact checked you, by the way. Victoria Kord is the older sister of Ted Kord.
Oh, okay. I guess
Apparently,
that makes sense.
canonically
sense.
from 2011.
Okay. I remember reading that it was his wife, and that clearly was just incorrect information. So, okay, the older sister of Ted Kord. Great. So, but that opens up, if Victoria Kord exists in this universe, Ted Kord probably exists in this universe. Will we see Ted Kord in this movie? I don't know. It would be great. What we do see in this movie are two other pieces of evidence that Ted Kord does exist in this film universe, which is his famous mode of transportation, the Bug, which is a giant flying beetle-looking thing, which is piloted by George Lopez's character very briefly in the trailer. Super cool, kind of like a very iconic thing in the books. Very excited to see it in the movie, even though it's not canonically part of Jaime Reyes' story. It makes me even think even more that they are going to even mention, like, at least mention Ted Kord. That, and also the fact that Blue Beetle #1, Dan Garrett, and Blue Beetle #2, Ted Kord, we see their costumes on stands in the stinger of this teaser, where they are in some kind of laboratory or lair, and Jaime is looking at like a utility belt and says, it looks like Batman's or whatever. In the background, there are two costumes of the first and second Blue Beetle, which is great that they are like referencing the history of this character, and not just as, I mean, it kind of is an Easter egg, but it's also a blatant Easter egg, which makes me
Right.
think that one or both of these characters are either going to be mentioned or will actually be in the movie, which to a DC fan is super exciting, that they are not just like eliminating the backstory of this character or the history of this character. They are acknowledging it and possibly even bringing it in to the main story, and that we may have one or two or possibly three Blue Beetles running around in the DCU moving forward. And
Yeah, you do it with Batman's. What the hell?
exactly.
Why
Yeah,
don't they
why not?
just add another one?
We got plenty of Spider-Mans. We got plenty of Batman. Let's take a couple Blue Beetles.
Yeah, we're going with all the anthropomorphic animal superheroes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. Why not?
Yep,
Ant-Man, Wasp.
They'll be
Yeah,
fighting
we got 'em
multiple
all.
lizards and killer crocs, and
We need a multiverse crossover that is all bug and animal based characters.
yeah, Marvel
at it.
Marvel versus DC Animal Kingdom.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I would watch that specifically.
Oh, Craven would be in his right in his wheelhouse.
Oh yeah. They would be one of those things where they're fighting each other, but at the end they have to team up to take out like Craven or other anti-animal villains or whatever. You know what I
And
mean?
you just described a Dan Slott miniseries from about 3 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
way to go me. Way to go me. Great line at the end of this trailer from George Lopez where Jaime says it kind of looks like Batman's, and George Lopez says Batman's a fascist. I think that's really funny.
Yep.
Interesting. I'll be interested to see if he elaborates on that.
Just leaves it at that deadpan.
in the film. Yeah, it'd be great if
Yeah.
he goes a little has a little bit of a bit about that. That'd be great.
So I was thinking about the bug when you mentioned that. And
Okay, yeah.
just going back to that, is that kind of like all I can think of in my brain, all I'm thinking of is Night Owl's owl ship?
If you remember, I don't know if you remember this, but we talked about this briefly where when Alan Moore, DC like acquired all these comic book characters from like a company that was going out of business. Then it was like Blue Beetle and Peacemaker and Nightshade, I think is her name, and like Captain Atom. And he wanted to take all these characters and make a story about how they're all failures and they're not really, wanted to apply like real life to it. And DC said, no, we have plans for these characters, but that story sounds like a good story. You can go write that story. And he said, okay. And he went and wrote Watchmen. But he based all the characters in Watchmen are based on these actual characters. So like the comedian was based on Peacemaker, and Captain or Dr. Manhattan was based on Captain Atom. Night Owl was based on Blue Beetle, right down to the fact that they gave him a flying airship that kind of looks like an owl that also kind of looks like the bug, the beetle thing. So yes, it is.
Wow.
The Night Owl ship is actually a ripoff of Blue Beetle, not the other way around.
Fair enough. Okay, I learned something today.
Yeah.
Actually, I've learned a lot.
I love that story. I love that story. And every time I like forget about it and I'm like, oh yeah, it was supposed to be these characters. It makes me really want a version of Watchmen, but like with those actual DC
Watchmen
characters. Yeah. So yes, it does kind of look like that. And
now we know why.
Like that. Yeah, now we know why. I don't know. I'm excited to see like another trailer. I'm sure we'll get at least one more, probably May or June. A couple TV spots in July before it hits in August. Looking forward to seeing more of this. Hopefully not too much more, because I do like that I'm going in not knowing much about it, but I think it looks really good. It seemed like there's a lot of cool action. It seems like the cast is it seems like it's well cast. If you can get like, it kind of gives me like Shazam, original Shazam vibes, just because it is kind of like family related also. And although I'm excited for that and I'm down with that and I like both Shazam movies, some people were blaming the lack of box office returns for Shazam: Fear of the Gods on the fact that, nobody wants to go see like a wholesome family film superhero movie anymore. I don't necessarily think that's true. But I guess maybe we'll find out whether or not it's true, depending on how Blue Beetle does. So,
also of note, for any Final Fantasy nerds around, watching Blue Beetle at the end of the trailer bust out the Buster Sword, and like that's the iconic like Cloud Strife. That's his move at the end of every fight, basically, with the Buster Sword. And I was just like, holy hell. Yeah. I did not expect that at all. And it was a great little Easter egg.
It is a great Easter egg. What was I was just going to say something else about. I think this movie is going to do really well, if not just because it's like a superhero movie and it's appealing and it looks fun and cool and the effects look good. I think the fact that this is the first major superhero movie that is going to be led by a Latino lead, I think that is going to help it a lot at the box office. That alone, I think, is going to help it do numbers as it should, and hopefully open the door for more of those. And I don't know. I'm excited. I thought this looked good. I'm excited about it. I want to see more. Maybe like a little bit more of a story trailer. I'm sure like the second one will be a little bit more like here's the actual plot, not just the origin.
Right, because I'm not gonna lie, with Blue Beetle, a lot of these characters we really don't want to see an origin. Nobody knows what the origin for this guy is. So
yeah, exactly.
You kind of got to do it.
Yeah, and especially like this one, it's not just like, oh, it's a guy who just made a suit that looks like a beetle or something, or
he got bit by a beetle.
Like, he got bit by a radioactive beetle. Like, no, like this character kind of needs an origin because it's complicated. Otherwise, you're going to have a 5-minute long scene of exposition. It's like, well, I ran into this alien scarab and it attached itself to my back, and people are going, wait, what? I think it's more interesting to see a character like this because of like the Peter Parker aspect of the learning to deal with it, learning to like struggle with it and how to live a normal life, like that kind of thing. You need to see the origin because you need to see his complicated life before, and then how the powers will further complicate that life.
Right. I mean, the quote from the trailer, like, you went in to get us jobs and you came home with a hamburger.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and that burger is from Big Belly Burger, which is a canonical restaurant in the DC universe. It's like the McDonald's of the DC universe. It's definitely been referenced in like the CW shows before. Like Arrow used to say Big Belly Burger all the time. I don't know that I've ever seen it in a movie. So I love that it is finally in like a DC film. Yeah. Great.
Nice.
Awesome. So, I mean, let us know, comment below, send us a message, send us a tweet, send us a whatever, letting us know what you thought of the Blue Beetle trailer. I'm very excited to, again, see more, to see this movie when it comes out in August. And from all that we know, there's nothing standing in the way of this character moving forward with James Gunn and Peter Safran in their version of the DCU. So if it does well, we might see this character in this iteration of this character sticking around for quite some time. And so far, based on this little bit that we've seen, I kind of hope that happens because it looks cool.
Seems good.
Cool. Yeah. All right. Well, I know you're probably sick of hearing us, recording 4 episodes in 2 days, but it's possible that we will be back again tomorrow with a reaction for rumored trailer for Across the Spider-Verse coming out tomorrow. So
yeah, we're going from Mike's wheelhouse to both of our wheelhouses.
Yep, to a shared wheelhouse. And think of it like this: if we get all these reactions out of the way this week, then we're just going to be free to go on and on and on next Sunday, all about the news from Star Wars Celebration, as we love to do when it comes to Star Wars. So
right, because I'm sure there'll be nothing.
All this other stuff.
There'll be nothing that comes out of that. It's going to be a real dead week for us on Sunday.
Yeah, we're gonna be just scraping to like find stuff to talk about, I'm sure.
Yep, I'll be driving home 5 hours, and then after skiing all day the day before, and then record till midnight. It'll be fine.
Yeah, cramming on all the details that you missed, and then jumping on a pod.
Yeah, maybe I'll make my wife drive home so I can catch up on.
I'm sure that I will be texting you all the information.
Oh, I'm sure.
I'm sure you'll know one way or the other.
Perfect.
All right, but thanks so much. That's all I got to say on the Blue Beetle trailer. Why don't we wrap this up, Steve?
Yeah, no, I think if you enjoyed hearing us repeatedly and more repeatedly and more repeatedly, feel free to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or your podcatcher of choice. Leave us a review. If you're watching us on YouTube, like and ring the bell, and we'll let you know when we're going live or when we've published a new video. Beyond that, get a hold of us on the socials at Multiverse Report on everything but Twitter. Twitter is Multiverse RPT, multiverseport@gmail.com, multiverseport.com. It's a recurring theme, people. Figure it out.
Sure is. And just to reiterate, we have kind of given up on Twitch, and we are now streaming live on YouTube, usually every Sunday nights around 9:30. This is a special case, and tomorrow will be a special case. We'll let you know, but we're going to be on YouTube instead of Twitch. Easier to find us, easier to watch those videos. So check us out there. And that's it. So until next time, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you in the multiverse.